Yeah, no wonder. I mean, dude, the guy's been going forever, nonstop. It feels like since the beginning of CS:GO, he's just been on that grind. I mean, Maniac, what do you think about Mousesports coming into it? I mean, Chris J's state of mind, does that kind of highlight the rest of the team, or is he just the exception?
No, I think it's a general feeling now that Counter-Strike have moved to mainly online, right? We talked about it a little bit in the first days of this competition.
Yes,
how do you
true.
use that time, that mega time that you have at home now? You might fall into the trap of just playing Counter-Strike 13, 14 hours a day. That wasn't the case before. When you were traveling around, sure, traveling around also means exhaustion. You're not home. There are some massive downsides to it, but when you're home, suddenly you can play all day if you want to. And that is a risk. Obviously, that is something that needs to be thought through. You have to realize and you have to optimize the time you use. So I can understand some players having that burnout, especially right now, even though it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, because you'd think, oh, but they don't have these competitions. No, actually, no. It does require a thought process as to how to use that. But Mousesports as a lineup, listen, I don't exactly know where to put them. Like, granted, they've had a couple of months, maybe a little bit more of downtime, but I would still have them in the top 5 in the world. Like, I still haven't seen enough duckery from them to kick them out of that spot. I mean, they have a tremendous lineup. They have a good map pool. They have one of the best IGL out there in Counter-Strike. The individuals are insane, but somehow it's just not clicking. I mean, there's inconsistency.
Astralis are still going to murder him.
You think so? Are you ready to own up to that one?
I've seen the predictions.
Okay.
He's bantering you, mate.
All right.
Thanks, Thorn. All right, let's move. All right, the thing is, I want to keep talking Astralis and Mousesports, but we also have to talk about the other playoff match from you that we're going to be getting today, because we're obviously going to get to come back and talk a bit more about Astralis and Mousesports. So, I mean, the other one to take away here is that Vitality and Dig are all going down. That'll be our second best of 3 of the day. And I mean, Vitality, Maniac, this is what I wanted to get you in on. You're well placed following the comms and knowing these players to speak on the French CS and what's going on with this team. Are they going to dominate, or is it going to be a struggle?
Listen, I'm not happy to say that, but to me there seem to be fundamental flaws in how that team proceed at the moment and how they play, how they operate on the server, right? So you have Apex that took over the IGL role. Obviously, I think losing Alex was a huge hit for Vitality. He was doing a very good job. He also had a good relationship with Extaz, the coach, so they had this unit together to create the game plan. That's not the case anymore. Apex steps in, he takes the role, he takes the responsibility, and he always had a mind for the game. Apex always had the understanding of what the other team is doing. He has a very good knowledge in general of how people are doing, but it is a different story to be an IGL, to be the one that always gives the impulse during the rounds, when it's crunch time, when it's 13-13, the one that's gonna take all the responsibility and also remain very calm. Apex is a very emotional player now. One of the problems I've realized in that team is that midway through the round, there needs to be an impulse, there needs to be a decision. It's lacking just a little bit. Sometimes you can feel that the round is going to slip through their hands and no one is really here to say, okay guys, now let's do this, let's retake this area, let's move in here, we need to retake information. That is what an IGL is supposed to do. It's not only about at the beginning of the round say, okay guys, we're going to do B split and then just play. It's also about, you know, giving the rhythm and being the kind of the orchestra master during the round, and it fails a little bit to Vitality right now.
And so that's the thought on Vitality. We're going to get to talk more about them later, obviously. But Thorin, do you have any thoughts on Dignitas before we go to the break here and their current form going into these playoffs?
For this matchup, at this point in time, I'm just glad that NBK is not on Vitality anymore. Otherwise, it'd be ridiculous to have literally all these players from like the first matches of CS:GO still playing at this point in time. This is like when Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair were still fighting in the 2000s. Like, are they like 50 or 60 years old? What's going on here? What, we're supposed to pretend this is a real match? But listen, obviously the Dig guys represent the older generation of CS:GO. Vitality, for me, the interesting thing is, obviously you saw there, Ziwa was topping the entire charts, so the question becomes, unfortunately, a common refrain with Vitality, if you go back about a year or so, which is, when a player's playing that well individually, what are the people around him going to do to capitalize on that and turn it into wins? Because that's the golden goose right there. Like, you don't know why that's happening, you don't know how that's happening, you're definitely not doing all of it. I agree when they had Alex, they used to set him up, but like, he did all the rest. Like, that's like saying, like, giving Michael Jordan the pair of shoes or whatever. Yeah, he still goes and dunks it. You didn't make him do that. So I want to actually see those other players stop making excuses, start filling those roles, because if you can't, then we're going to have to get other players in, because one guy is fantastic right now. He hasn't really got much you can complain about. And so against a team like Dig, they absolutely should be heavily scrutinized if they lose this matchup.
Well, there we have it. And well, I think the predictions reflect this as well. Right now, it is going to be Vitality across the board.
You did go for it.
For everybody. Bit of a split everywhere else. And then I guess I'm the only one. I'm the only one. But this is how you establish true dominance, gentlemen. You know, you got to get out there. You just got to get it done right at the beginning of the day.
What are you talking about? Megas is saying you've got like 7.5 months to wait before you can predict them.
He meant that, you know, the thing is, he meant that in like the old Hebrew, where it's like a day could be, you know, an hour, it could be 24 hours, it could be 1,000 years, you don't know, right? And so, you know, that's the thing, man. 7 months could be done like that before we come back from the break. That's what I'm counting on. All right. Betway Odds, thank you to our sponsor for providing the odds for these matches. And I think it's time to take a quick break before we start breaking down our first match of the day here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are kicking off the decade here. Not every day you get to say that. With the Blast Premier Spring Series. We do have the very best in the business, the best in the world competing here.
Just take initiative and we're gonna win. Alright? Let's go. Okay, boys. Let's close this shit out. Let's go. Dun, 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 dun. That's a hell of a shot. Ooh, a second from the lead.
15 seconds on the clock, he turns around and the bomb goes out. Oh my god, the 180! Necro, another kill! This should, by all means, be absolutely impossible here for MIBR. This should be the end of the road here.
Stewie, who is the easiest target?
Gold.
He does still have the AK Cold with everything to do, just popping noggins! He cleared 3 bodies and the board!
Let's go! Let's go, guys. Let's focus on it. Let's go.
Now this game versus Astralis, right? They're obviously not in their best shape either. They've changed 2 players going into it. And when I spoke to other people, they've realised that, okay, this isn't the same Astralis, but they also can't even replicate the same kind of strategies. Certainly they don't have the confidence in their gameplay. Do you feel like losing to them at this point would just be like an ultimate rock bottom, and this is a must-win game, not just for the tournament, but just for you guys' overall confidence in this stage?
I mean, must-win game. Obviously, I think we're the favorites here, considering their state, but they still have some very good players. And if we don't play our best, I think things can spiral out of control pretty fast. So I don't think we can underestimate them, really. We have to be ready for maybe some more individual stuff. As you said, they probably don't have all their tactics on point yet with these 5 they play with now. So it's going to be a bit more unpredictable. But yeah, we still have to give our all.
You You still have to give your all, and that is the thing. It's obviously, if you're a competitor, the whole point is to win every single match that you ever play. So you know that Chris J and Mousesports are going to be giving it their all, that they're not just going to be rolling over and taking this. But I mean, Astralis, they may be a little weakened. You've still got crazy talent on this team, like Device, who was clutching like mad against ENCE yesterday. I mean, if you let your guard down for a second, and Chris is aware of it, you're going to get bitten by Astralis. The Wolf Pack, I mean, there's still only 3 of them, but they can still do some damage. Thorin, what do you make of this match going into it?
Well, plus, I mean, Mousesports showed us yesterday they're capable of losing no stand-in who's never even played with the team before when they lost to Nickelback. That's right, that was the name of the player on Virtus Pro, another name that you haven't heard in years, who actually managed to beat them in the game yesterday. So Mouse themselves obviously are in such poor condition. I think you saw it there in the interview. Like, he even said that even though they're supposedly the favourite, he was very quick to walk back the idea. Like, I would just go out there if I was Mousesports to say, of course we'll crush them. It's not the real Astralis, you know, they haven't got Glaive. Without them, we're a far superior team. We're going to turn it all around. Like, he didn't really try to like big his own team up there. He was a little bit cautious. So I think it's reflected here in the map pool, as you see. Like, here's the spoiler on this. That still looks all right in terms of win rates. It isn't. That's because it's the last 3 months. So if you go back to the beginning of the 3 months when Mouse was a very good team, I've no doubt they were stacking wins, because like that Inferno one there, Inferno was usually a swing map in the series when they would play in all those tournaments they were making the finals of. They've won it 10% of the time now when you take the whole of the last 3 months. So how many losses must they have had on that? It must have just been constant losing. So when you consider what a played map that is right now, that's kind of indicative of their flaws in this tournament. And then the fact that they had to opt in and train like every single time. I think we're working with 2 teams with pretty limited map pools here. The good news for them, though, is more recently Mousesports have been banning Mirage. Astralis has done that for them. In theory, it should be the Overpass ban traditionally from Mouse, but I don't know if I'd risk that. I haven't seen that from them, so they've done the right move here. They've banned Inferno, their worst map. Now, what can Astralis even pick? At the moment, they've already played Nuke and Train, and quite frankly, if you're Mouse, you don't mind that. You'd love them, in fact, to pick Train. So if I'm the Astralis guys right now, I don't know if you're going to pick Overpass, quite frankly. You have, that's ballsy. This is the question, Maniac. What do you think? I think that Mousesports, if they want to really go for this, should pick Vertigo.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Either Vertigo or Train, honestly. 2 maps where you obviously know that Astralis were not field ready or B competent, but I'm just a huge fan of this Inferno ban for Mousesports. Like, I think banning Overpass would have been a mistake. You leave it open for Astralis and you say, you know what, guys, you did not rule the world by individual play.